Troy, what's up with
Yeah.
the red? What are you trying to do here?
What's up with the red?
Yeah, what are you doing with
Oh,
the
so
red
you
here?
mean I actually wore color today and that surprises you? And you're saying that that's actually I've been on camera all day already.
You're
So
such a star.
no, I am not. I am an idiot. But that's different than being a star.
Welcome to Print to Pro actually is a channel, but welcome to Pros Talking Prose. It's nice to have you guys here. This is Troy, the lovely, the wonderful, and we have with us the amazing, I guess, filibuster master, Johnny Truant. It's nice to have you with us, Johnny. And
Uh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm just gonna
I'm
go
gonna let you.
der,
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
gonna let it go.
And
No, I was just gonna say
I'm
thank you for having
yeah,
me.
you're welcome. I'm really excited to talk to Johnny today about his upcoming release, The Artisan Author, which I don't know if you got a chance to listen to last week's episode, Johnny, but we plugged the crap out of your book. So
Nice.
Uh,
That's what I'm looking
um
for. Plug that.
yeah,
yeah.
we were both really psyched to talk to you today. So anyway, we'll just
Eh,
go ahead and get started. If you haven't already, like, subscribe. We're not like, well, what are we? We're not like ascending to the top ranks of YouTube stardom. What we're trying to do is reach authors that want to know how to do this thing called writing as a business. So if you're here and you're not sure how to make it work, you're at the right place. We're gonna probably talk you down some wormholes and talk you off some ledges. So welcome, welcome. Um, and Johnny is an expert. Johnny's been around for a very long time. I'm going to let Troy do an intro for Johnny.
Oh,
Johnny is older than he looks.
Well, hold on. Are we conflating been around a long time with expertise? Because if so, I'm
Yeah.
nailing it.
Yeah, been around a long time with expertise. And he's a Texan, which he lives in the town of Austin. Am I right? You live in
You were
Austin?
right. You're
And
right.
Austin, Texas is near and dear to my heart because my cousin lives there and he is trying to get us to move there. So we kind of love that
It's a
quirky little
fun
weird
town.
town.
It's super, super hot. Can I share a small story before we begin? So
Yeah.
yes.
it's related. So I thought of Troy this weekend, and so here's the reason why. So so I was at Austin Comic Con, and as a vendor, like it was my first Comic Con to sell
Oh.
books, and we can talk about that if you're curious. But they have a lot of cosplay at
Mhm.
Comic Cons, and there was a guy who was cosplaying as the Dude, and he looked
Yes.
exactly like him. I was like,
Like
"Is that Jeff Bridges walking around?" And he had a picture
mm,
of himself as the Dude on his shirt too. He's walking around in a robe with like the slip-on shoes, and I called him out and I was like, "That's an awesome costume, whatever." He said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." He said people who don't haven't seen The Big Lebowski just think that I'm really into myself. But
Yeah.
but since Troy's the plot dude and has the whole Lebowski thing on the site, I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, this reminds
yeah.
me of Troy Lambert."
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you
for
go.
sure. And he's
Yep.
definitely
I should
he
have
went
worn the sweater. I should
well,
have
it's
worn the sweater
hot.
for this, but it is warm. It's not super, at least it's raining. It's a little cooler here today than it was, but
Yeah.
it's not been Austin hot, but it has been
No,
hot.
Yeah.
Austin is
So
hot.
yeah,
Hmm.
Austin is too hot. But anyway, and I almost like don't even feel qualified to introduce Johnny except to say that he's been around a long time. He did the what was that book called? Write, Release, Repeat, or
Yep.
Write, publish, repeat.
Write,
And that
Publish,
was actually
Repeat.
an attempt to that incredibly verbose, all over the place, self-aggrandizing book
Oh, stop.
was actually an attempt to make sense of the less coherent self-publishing podcast that was really popular at the time. And I was just writing a
Yes.
post for my Substack about that just now, just before I hopped on. And I was like, we had selfpublishingpodcast.com and we could
Hmm.
call it the self-publishing podcast. And that should tell you something about the era in which that was launched
Yes.
because that podcast never would have survived today because we weren't on point. We were all over the place, and we would have had to call it something much more creative than the self-publishing podcast.
Yes, I
Kind of
remember
like,
that. I mean,
yeah.
I remember when that first came out, and then, but Johnny has written all kinds of genres and
Mm-hmm.
had stuff adapted for TV. The Fat Vampire, right?
Yep.
Anyway, by the Sci-Fi Channel, which is hilarious. But but also Johnny's just been in obviously through all the eras of self-publishing that we talk about all the time, that like I've been in all that history of self-publishing, and
Mm-hmm.
where it was the Wild West and you could just kind of do whatever you wanted, to where
The
now
golden
it's a pay to
era.
play,
Now it's pay to play.
game
Yeah.
type thing
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind
Yep.
of stuff, but kind of a new era for a new kind of a revolution, I think. And we've been talking about this obviously for a couple of years, and I've been experiencing this myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back. Johnny Kickstarter is live for the Artisan Author. I went and backed it already and dragged two of my friends into backing it already because,
Nice.
my goodness, do they need this book? But anyway, that's a whole other
Mm-hmm.
story. But, but yeah, I think a lot of people that are in the publishing industry today that are struggling with this hustle culture need this type of approach and this type of book. But anyway, even if they've been in it for a while. So anyway, Johnny can tell us probably more about himself, but I mean,
You
we've
guys,
had some.
you guys inflated my ego enough. I will say that one of the things that's really struck me is, so I did the self-publishing podcast with two other guys, Sean Platt
Mm-hmm.
and David Wright. And so that's the post that I was just writing, but I talked to it was kind of about that. And I talked to Sean last week. And I'm not gonna
Mm.
lie, it was to promote the Artisan Author like I wanted. I was like, oh, Sean can help me promote it. But number one, our chat was so fun, and when we pushed it out, when I published it, all these old names came back, like names that I hadn't heard in 10 years. And they were like, "Oh, it's so great to see you guys together again." And it just reminded me, our chat and then the reaction to the chat both
Mm-hmm.
reminded me of how fun this industry used to be. Like it was this
Yes.
giddy enthusiasm, and I talk about that in the book a little bit. It was
Yeah.
like, traditional publishing was so like restrained, and we had to ask for permission. And so when the Kindle came around and suddenly we could do it ourselves, we were like kids in a candy store, and it was just so exciting and fun, and everyone was figuring it out together. And then it took half a decade or something, and then it started to be a little bit more like, well, hold on, are you doing that right? You got to make sure you're doing that right. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the enthusiasm and the fun, my favorite three-letter word, fun, went away. And I'm realizing, like, after talking to Sean, after hearing those old names, I want the fun back. So I'm like, let's
Right.
make
Oh, yes.
self-publishing fun again, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I've noticed with the majority of my clients too. It's there, and you talk about this, Johnny. I mean, this is one of the things that I absolutely loved about your book is like I was like, this he's writing my Bible because it really felt like I was hearing myself in your words because I'm always telling my clients like there is no right way. Like your way is the right way, and the fun of it needs to be what is right for you. And you're right. When you stop making it fun and you start making it more about the analytics and the numbers and the desperation of making the sale, it
Yeah.
stops being fun. It stops being the whole reason why creatives are creative, right? So
Hmm.
I love that you said that. That is something that really resonates with me. I know it resonate
Yep.
with a lot of my clients.
Oh
Well,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I was just talking this morning when we are running an editing class, Nick Nelson and I are, and I'm like, the reason I took the first editing job that I ever took was because it was fun. It
Mm-hmm.
sounded
mhm.
fun, And I'm like, because literally the lady asked me, like, do you want to edit for our publisher? And I'm like, why would I do that? And she said, well, it'll be fun. And I'm like, fun and work? I like those two words together. Let's
Yep.
do that, you know?
I'm hearing that late breaking news in my head right now, and I'm realizing that I think maybe I'm realizing what the Artisan Author is all about, like right here, right now, in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Is I think I might have always been very, very stubborn about standing for fun. Like I've always wanted to have fun, and re-embracing this, like once I had kind of a container to put it in, and I said, okay, well, it's the Artisan Author. It's unlike what I consider, for me personally, what feels like handcuffs of rapid release. It's right for some people.
Mhm.
It's not right for me. It was an insistence on wanting to have fun. And then once I did it, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much fun. I went to Comic-Con and I had fun and I talked to people and I got to talk about, so my book Unicorn Western was described by a reader as
Yes.
it's like if Stephen King was on acid when he wrote The Dark Tower. And whenever I
Yeah.
say that, people laugh. And that whole like writing can be fun, books can be fun. And that sounds so obvious, but I swear we
I
have
think
forgotten that.
I think people have forgotten that.
Yes.
In fact, I'm going to quote you. Can I quote you from your book? Because
Oh, please,
I
please
think this
do.
is
People
perfect.
quote me all the time. I walk down
I'm
the street. I can't walk down the street without being quoted.
I'm gonna quote you.
Yeah.
Johnny says the artisan, and this kind of goes along with what we're saying here. Is artisan authors don't care about becoming bestsellers. It'd be nice if your sales blew up, but it's definitely not necessary. My own ideal is cult fame. I'd rather be a hip cult like Donnie Darko than a summer blockbuster like Marvel movie. And I love
Hmm.
that because you're right. I'll bet you a lot of like those guys that do those kinds of big blockbuster movies, you get like locked into those contracts and it becomes less fun. It's those indie movies where those actors really get to have a lot of fun with like up and coming um producers and directors and other actors, and
Yeah.
it's a lot more fun and free. And I feel like that's kind of the indie author world. We should go back to having more fun and stop like you said, doing this rapid release, like I got to make the money, kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like there are people that are really right for rapid release. Like I've been increasingly careful about this as I've been talking about it
Mm-hmm.
because there are people that it's right for. But the problem is I think the people that it's right for is a very, very small number relative to all the people who think it's what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so that's on one end. And then I think on the other end is the people who are like being pure artists. And then it's the people in the middle, which is like, obviously I don't have real percentages, but let's just make one up. 95% of authors or something like that. And the perception is, well, I'd better trade one for the other. I'd better work really hard. I'd better be disciplined. I'd better so that I can make more money because it's one or the other. It's either creative joy and satisfaction and freedom or it's money. And so that's the trade they're making. But for that middle ground, I would argue that you have at least, I'm trying to be generous, at least as good of a shot of making money while keeping the fun if you take an artisan approach. Now, you're not probably going to blow up, but it's with the Thousand True Fans paradigm, which we can talk about if you want. It's just you don't have the same metrics. You don't need to score the same hits that you do in like Kindle Unlimited. You can have a much quieter level of success where you're just courting a handful of true fans. And for most people, I would argue that that's either parity or you're going to do better as an artisan author because you get to have fun too. You get to be creative and
Right.
have fun as well.
I agree. I
Absolutely.
totally agree. And I know, Troy, you have been having some fun lately when you're with your pulp stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it
Well, yeah,
is.
like, so I'll give an example real quick of what exactly like this. So I did a Kickstarter with Vincent Zandri. We got a bunch of noir authors together and created this thing called True Pulp. And we basically called it Pulp with Legacy, but that's kind of a misnomer. Is the whole idea with pulps was a lot of guys made a lot of money on them, but they were these cheap books on these spinner racks and they were disposable. And they came, you read them, and they went away. And 6 weeks later, they weren't on those racks anymore and nobody ever saw that book again. Like it was just a really fast thing, but it's really fun and easy. Well, one of the ways, if you have that following of fans, one of the things that you can do is you can write short fiction, because Vince and I are playing around with this a lot. You write short fiction, you put it up for a while, it makes you some extra money to supplement your novel things. And then 6 weeks later, maybe somebody buys it every now and then, but it's really just kind of hanging out there in the digital shelves, right? It doesn't really matter. But those stories are fun. Those are an absolute blast to like just write and throw out there and be like our theme for our next thing we're doing is called television. We both wrote stories about TVs. Okay, like what category is
That's
that on
nice.
Amazon?
Right. TV
Exactly.
fiction.
TV fiction, but
I I'll look for
it's
I'll look for
fun.
the category. I'll look for it.
Yeah, find that subcategory for us so
I'll
we can
find it.
make our millions or whatever it is that we need to do. But you know what I mean? Like it's not, we're doing it for fun. But I mean, hey, we're going to make a few extra bucks at it. So we are in kind of that middle where, yeah, we're going to put it out there professionally and make a few bucks at it. It's not our goal to become a bestseller with that because that's not what the pulp era was about. And we're kind of in a new pulp era where,
I
hey,
think
let's have
so.
some fun, see what sticks and play around. It's so
Yeah.
much, it's so much
Yeah.
funner than just trying to write to the exact market. Oh, I got to figure out what's hot right now, and
Yeah.
Well, it's
And
kind of a what do
whatever.
you have to lose thing, honestly,
yeah,
because like if you're not having any fun and you're breaking your back and you're not making money, like the the branch in the road where you're not making money, well, why the hell wouldn't you do something different? Like, why wouldn't you try to have
Right.
fun? If it's not working, for the people who it's working, they actually have a harder decision. But if you've been banging your head against the wall, I know the solution. Let's bang harder. No, you why not try something else?
try
Like I'm
something
telling
else.
you,
Yeah.
this can work for a lot of people.
I
Right.
agree. I totally agree. And I would probably agree with your statistic there of 95% of authors who are want to be the artisan. Because whenever I talk to clients about their decision about their publishing journey, that's the number one question right at the beginning. It's like, okay, what are your goals? Where would you like to see this? And where do you see yourself as an author? And whenever I do that, and whenever I make them really think about it, they 100% want to have all that control and do it their way, and they want to make sure that they're doing it in a way that makes sense for them and their project and their life and their lifestyle and what they, you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
there's some stuff that goes with that. So I'm gonna let's track this back a little bit and let's talk a little bit about the artisan's way, because you hit on some really amazing, not really groundbreaking. I mean, this is all stuff that kind of like people that are in the industry know what's going on, and they kind of like been around and they kind of see this shift, especially in the age of AI and when things are going whoa super
Hmm.
fast. They're kind of stepping back and going, wait, where do I fit in this world that where the robots are taking over? And you talk about the rapid release, which is kind of a system that maybe some of the new authors nowadays wouldn't really, maybe they're not super familiar with this, or maybe it's something that they're coining with a different name.
Yeah.
But rapid release is kind of like this phase that people went through where they were like pumping out these books. Can you explain some more about that and why you think that that was kind of like what you kind of coin in your book is like kind of the race to the bottom, or it was kind of like one of those things that sometimes led to that burnout that a lot of authors are
Yeah.
feeling?
So first, I just want to underscore something that you said there, which is I did not invent anything. Not even the term. Like
No.
I think Joanna Penn said artisan to me the first time that we
Oh
were talking.
yeah. And then
That story
isn't
that
there
I
a
told.
book called The Artisan's Way, or is that the Artist's
That's The
Way?
Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
That's right.
Yeah, but but this is not, and the principles are so simple. Like you barely need
Mhm.
it. Okay, so here I'm going to give you the
No, you
artisan
need
author
it.
in
People
30
need to be
seconds. Well,
reminded.
okay, yes, you definitely need it.
You
But
do
you
need it.
can, like it's really write quality books, find
Mhm.
people who love them and treat them like humans and sell at a fair price. Like there you
Right.
go. But basically, and it is funny that you ask about that because there are a few people I've run into. So most of the people, it's a very incestuous little world that we live in.
It
And
is a small world, isn't it?
yeah, and like most of the people I talk to, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a problem. This is huge." But I've run into some people who are like, "Do people do that?" Like they're kind of aghast. They're like, "Do people really do that? That rapid release thing?" So for anybody who doesn't really know, and if you don't know, then I was just going
Good.
to say maybe you don't even need the book,
You
but
don't need to know.
apparently you do need the book. That's what Stacy says, and I would agree.
Okay.
But the idea is, and I kind of look at this from, and I could be totally wrong about this, but this is the way it feels to me. Is kind of a modern inevitability. Is we as humans tend to say, "Can we do that?" Yes. Okay. Well, then let's do it. And there's not a lot of leeway in there. It's kind of like, well, can we price lower? Every time I go to a restaurant and they give you generous portions, I'm like, oh, well, this isn't going to last because they could give me half and charge the same price and nobody would bat an eye. So, from Amazon's perspective, and I can't speak for Jeff Bezos, despite the fact that, he and I are always hanging out and I feel like I should be able to speak for him. That's not really true. Um, he, I think that what Amazon basically did was when they released Kindle Unlimited, they had a program where it was all you can read. And obviously, the more stuff is in there, the more attractive that program is. So they made it very attractive to authors and enticed a lot of us in there. And Amazon is the big, 800-pound gorilla in the room. So ignore Amazon at your peril. We were already kind of saying Amazon was primary. So, okay, well, if you go exclusive, we're going to advance your books and put them at the top of the search listings and all this stuff. And then what it feels to me like is the conversation kind of went like this between Amazon and authors. Well, so I see you guys are publishing books on average every 6 weeks, let's say. I wonder if anybody could do it in five. Hmm. And then the people who were able to do it faster, well, that's more books faster, says Amazon. Why
Mm-hmm.
don't we promote that? And as long as people were willing to kind of, you know, trying to think of a good metaphor here, as long as they were willing to kind of take it on the chin, I was going to say it in a less politic way. They, like they were, then Amazon would reward it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I worry about now when I say the race to the bottom is that I don't think we've seen the end game of rapid release.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Because right now
No.
it's gone from, and I could be wrong about some of this in terms of the details, but it's definitely gotten faster. So
Mm-hmm.
the rapid release people today who are releasing every 3 weeks have an advantage over the people who are doing it every 4 weeks. But then it's like, well, so what about every 2 weeks? What about every week? And with AI assistance, and I'm not anti AI, but I would argue that publishing a book every 2 weeks or every day or every 3 hours, like these are things that are actually becoming non impossible. And so why wouldn't Amazon reward that too? So that's why it feels like a vicious cycle. Because as
Mm-hmm.
long
Hmm.
as we're willing to do what the 800-pound gorilla wants us to do in order to please their algorithms, as long as somebody's playing that game, they're going to keep asking more and more. And that's the trap that I think that a lot of self-published authors are in, because Kindle Unlimited ebook sales are the lowest hanging fruit, or they're perceived that way, because that's, quote, and I'm putting it in quotes, where the readers are. In
Mm.
truth, it's where a very voracious, specific kind of reader is who's easy to
Yes.
reach.
I agree.
So you can just publish and then you can reach those people, at least nominally. It's much harder to reach other people in other places. So, well, hell, I'll just publish into Kindle Unlimited ebooks. I won't bother with paperbacks. I won't bother with other platforms. I'm basically serving only America because, yes, Amazon technically publishes in other places, but let's not kid ourselves. It's mostly America.
Right.
And so that overlapping Venn diagram sweet spot is where that's the pond everyone is fishing in, at least in my little corner or our little corner of the self publishing world. And that's
Mhm.
what I worry about. And the genesis of this, and I'll try to keep this short because I'm like going on and on. That's what I do,
No, that's good.
is when I went back to a conference after a few years away, it hit me in the face. It's kind of like I'd been away for a while and I hadn't realized how much the industry had kind of changed and gotten a lot more tactical and a lot less fun in the
Mm-hmm.
meantime. And I started to see it through the eyes of like a new author, that like this is their first intro to this world. And it's not the fun, playful, let's figure it out, let's have fun, let's write our stories about unicorns and whatever crazy crap we're going to write about. Let's not do that. Instead, hold on, is your ad game on point? How closely have you written to market? Hold on, you had an extra character in this second book, and that character might not fit the algorithms as much as your last book, so it's going to be a problem. And people were taking it so seriously, and I get it, it's your livelihood. Of course, you're going to take it seriously. But I just wonder at what point even the successful people are putting on golden handcuffs.
It
Hmm.
really, you know what? I kept thinking while you were saying that, I was
Mhm.
thinking, dance, monkey, dance. Like,
Yeah, a little bit,
Yeah.
it
and
was
I'll
like,
throw
It,
you a peanut. No, I'll throw you half a peanut because that's what the other monkeys are willing to dance for.
really, it
right.
feels like that, right? Oh my
Hmm.
gosh. And it's so depressing. I mean, when you describe it like that, this
Yeah.
bleak sunset, like we're all just like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
no, we're all gonna die. And
Well,
I
yeah.
see the rise of the machine
I
and
mean, I remember meeting up with you at 20 Books and kind of talking about that. Um, and and talking about the approach people were taking to everything really as far as the business is concerned, publishing is concerned. And like I was seeing this thing of like, man, I don't know how much faster I can release books. I mean, I'm tired. I got other
right.
things to do, I want to have a
Don't take a
life
break,
too.
dude. It'll all
Yeah,
fall
Oh
you
apart.
can't
yeah.
play with your
And
you can't play with your grandbabies
and
this week. You got to write
just
4 books.
seeing some of the people up on stage that are pale because they haven't seen the sun since 1987, and they're obviously not eating well while they're sitting at their desk all day, and the things like that. I'm just like, I'm kind of worried for some of these people,
Mm-hmm.
because
What?
they're going to
Yeah.
publish a lot of books, but they're not going to live very long. And some of the
Right.
people in the audience just eating that up, like, I always tell them, that person on the stage is going to give you a checklist, and God help you, you're going to go do it
Yeah.
and or try to do it. And I don't know how well that's going to work. You know, how
It
many
just
people
feels
it
like
works
the
for?
advice that's being given. Again, I will acknowledge that it's possible that it's only in this incestuous little, but hey, that's where I'm marketing the book, right? Like those are the people I'm
Yeah.
telling about it. So
Yeah,
maybe it's okay. But I do know that there is kind of a burnout epidemic. And
it
I've,
really is.
you know, I've
Hmm.
read Becca Syme has a wonderful book, Dear Writer, Are You in Burnout? Is it
Yeah.
writer? I think it's
Hmm.
writer. And she's written posts and talked about burnout. And it's like people are having health crises and
Hmm.
going like their mental health is suffering, their physical health is suffering, and
Hmm.
it's just not right for everybody. And I hate that a lot of people feel it is, because you're right, Troy, people want a blueprint to follow, but the truth is that no blueprint can be followed by everybody and be successful,
Hmm.
none. So I'm saying that about the artisan author too. Like, okay, here, I'll tell you what, even in an ideal case, there's no blueprint. I'm not even going to pretend there's a blueprint as an artisan
Right.
author, because I'm sorry, but the truth is that no blueprint works. The different people are different. There's a shocker.
Yeah. It worked for one
Yeah.
person one time. Like I always tell people, you cannot follow my path to becoming a full-time author because it will not work. It won't
Mhm.
work anymore, first of all, in today's world and today's market. And also there are things that happened then at that time that just don't happen anymore. And some of that is luck. And like I can't give you a formula for luck. Like tell me
Yeah.
how to win the lottery. I don't know. If I knew that, I'd be
Well,
living in a bigger house, maybe.
I
I
mean,
don't know. Probably
a
not, but
couple of months ago, Troy, you and I did I'm trying to find this quote again from Johnny. I'm real plugging your book like crazy. Hold on. I highlighted it. I'm gonna find it. Um, there was an episode that we did a couple months ago, Troy, where you and I we said no one knows what they're doing, and that's okay. Because it's really
yeah.
true. Like you're gonna get all these voices in your head, and there's gonna be so many Google wormholes you can go down. I am constantly telling my clients, stop Googling. Just
Yeah.
stop, because you're
Please
going to get
don't.
old,
Mhm.
outdated information that probably won't be right for you. So let's just talk about what your goals are, and then let's worry about what that's going to take to happen. But you say something to that effect as well. And I can't remember where it's at. I think it's right here. The well, you talk about the Kobayashi Maru, and you talk about your 1,000 pounds. Look, I'm going to talk about that in a second. That was one of my favorite references. um I love that. Also, can I just say, I love that you brought in some music, like when you were talking about like
Mhm.
you did some like lyrics to like some of the songs, like the
Oh no, I
Where's My
definitely didn't do
Beautiful
lyrics
Wife.
because I'm not allowed to do that. I
Right, no,
referred
but
to the general
you
theme of some lyrics.
yeah, I know.
Yes.
It was very clever. As an editor, I appreciated it. But I loved it where you're like, where's my beautiful wife? Where's my beautiful home? And I was like, because you're building this life that you didn't plan on building, and your life was completely different.
Hmm.
And like that was I didn't really ask that in the questions that I sent you beforehand, but I was going to ask you, what was that like when you hit that moment in your own life and your own writing journey, where you were like, oh my gosh, this is not what I pictured when I started this writing life. Like what, at what point did you pick yourself up and go, wait, I need to do something, and I need to do something about my journey? What was that moment like for you? And what
Well,
did you do?
yeah, my answer to that is probably a little different than you're intending, because I've always been super stubborn, and I've always been an artisan author without having a name for it. It's just
Yeah.
kind of always what I've done. I mean, my first like real book. So my first book is everybody writes the first book that is just like your life story, and like,
Right.
you know what I mean? You throw all yourself into it. But my first like real book as a working author was Fat Vampire, which is like, okay, well,
Yes.
I guess I could keep writing about vampires, even though that one is very not in the center of that genre. And then the second book was Unicorn Western, which I wrote with Sean, which, okay, I guess they're both wacky, but you can't categorize them. And then after that, I think we wrote The Beam, which is super hard sci-fi, very, very
Yes.
technical. So I'm too stubborn to be hoist on that petard. Like, it's not noble. It's just that I never like the industry would say you got to do this, and I would say screw you, industry. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to find a way to make it work. And the moment, the reckoning moment that you're talking that I think you're referring to, that I can answer a little sideways, was seeing the how much things had changed and
Mhm.
realizing that I was going to have to turn on the stubborn supercharger. Like I was going to have to be super stubborn and find a way through it. And I kind of didn't know how to do it because there was like, okay, well, I've been really effectively stubborn up until this point, but this is a challenge for even my stubborn muscles. And that was kind of where I started thinking about not developing a new way, but
But
stripping
just
away, like unlearning a lot of the garbage that's been piled on top, which is like, let's go back. Don't take me too literally on this, but I was like, let's just go back to 2012 when it was super fun and we were just writing whatever we wanted. Maybe that will still work because we were always just trying to connect with the next people. And I'll never forget
Mhm.
that first episode where we had Ed Robertson on the self-publishing podcast, and he started talking about algorithms, and we were like, "Oh my God, you're a genius! You figured out that Amazon has," and I'm sure people knew way before Ed, but that was where we were. It was the moment where we, like collectively in our audience too, were kind of like, "Oh, there's levers we can
there's
pull here."
magic.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if that was kind of the beginning of a lot of this, because it really, it to me, the key difference between the way a lot of people write and what I'm calling the artisan author is that, and this is going to be a real mind scratch, you guys. Nobody's going to be able to follow this. I want to write for readers. I know. Just
What?
take a step back.
Wait,
Be-
hold on.
Whoa.
because we've been writing for
Jude
algorithms.
Law.
Yes.
We've been writing for algorithms. We've been
You're
saying, well,
right.
I
Yes.
never did because I'm stubborn and because I'm unable to do it, frankly. Like I've tried to write to market or whatever, just as an experiment. I can't do it. Um, but I know that there are individual people who enjoyed my book. So if there were one or two or three, there were going to be more. Like those people are just out there. It's a numbers game. There's 8 billion people in the world. So,
Right.
and a lot of them speak English, and read in English. So I just, I don't know. It just required that recalibration of let's write directly for the people. And then the algorithms are trying to help us find people. That's why a lot of people write to algorithms, because it will help them find readers and they can connect with readers on the other end. But if serving the algorithms is not working for you, or it wasn't working for me, then I just need to write directly for the readers. It's the simplest thing in the world. But then the challenge is, how do you find them? And so a lot of this book is like, okay, well, let's explore that. Let's explore
Yeah.
how to find them and treat them.
So can we talk
Right.
about Bob a little bit?
I'd love to talk about Bob. I'm
Okay,
seeing
let's.
Bob tonight. I'm going in
Oh,
like 3 hours. I'm going to be seeing Bob.
fan freaking
Bob Schneider.
tastic. Bob Schneider. Okay, so let's talk about Bob Schneider, and not Rob Schneider, but Bob Schneider.
Yes.
Bob
I'm not
Schneider.
seeing Rob Schneider.
No. So Bob Schneider, tell me a little bit about Bob and why you brought him into this book as a really good example of like that, what it's like, what he's been doing to kind of cultivate the true fan, like, and you being the true fan.
Yeah, and I think that first of all, let me say that I talk about Bob a lot, and
Mhm.
nobody has yet told him so that we can become best friends. And I'm really
Oh, I'll tell
disappointed
him.
by that,
Oh,
because
I'll
that
tell
needs
him.
to happen. Like somebody needs to, man, this guy Truant is talking about you all the time, and he's usually right up front, so you should just say hi. Bob Schneider is an Austin singer-songwriter. He is my absolute favorite, and I use him as an example of what it means to be and to have true fans, to be a true fan and to have true fans, because I am a true Bob Schneider fan. And the way in the Kevin Kelly's definition, let me just do a very, very quick thousand true fans to back into this. So Kevin Kelly famously said in an article, which has been updated a few times, that if you have 1,000 true fans as a creative, you can succeed. Because a true fan is defined as somebody who will buy everything that you release. Like they aren't worried about, well, is it a zombie book? Oh, it doesn't matter. Did I write it?
Yeah.
That's a true fan.
Yeah.
So I'm a true fan of Bob Schneider. And if you have 1,000 of those people and you publish $100, or you put out $100 worth of product in a year, that's $100,000. So if you only want a $50,000 income and you can sell $100 worth of product to 50 people, or 500, it applies. So I said, who am I a true fan of? And I'm that way with Bob Schneider. He's also a visual artist. I would buy his art if I were in a position right now to be buying art. It doesn't have to be music. But the music industry is slightly ahead. It's a few years ahead of the authoring industry. And so if you want to see where the author industry is going, you could do worse than to pay attention to where music already is right now.
Yep.
And I heard a statistic, and I think this was, I feel like Mark Leslie Lefebvre told me this statistic. No, I don't think it was him. I'm sorry, I'm
You
forgetting
know,
who told me this.
Damien from BookFunnel talks about this all the time.
I love that you know who said it. Yeah, Damon
Yeah.
said, he said, he told me the story about Snoop Dogg had like, what, 1 billion
Yep.
streams on
Yeah.
Spotify,
Oh, yeah. I
a
remember
billion with a
this. Yeah.
B. And he reportedly got $30,000 for that.
Mm-hmm.
1 billion. And I'm just like, Spotify is not creating anything. Like they're curating, they're providing access, and they're kind of the Kindle Unlimited of the music world, where it's kind of like, oh, you don't want to be on Spotify?
Hmm.
Okay, good luck. You're going to be left behind. And so artists will go onto Spotify and they pay them this really terrible royalty, and it's harder and harder for
Terrible.
authors singers to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting back to your question, um, what what uh, what Bob does is, well, a lot of
A
musicians
lot
do
of
this. They'll
musicians do
form
this.
like Patreons or something. But
Mm-hmm.
I use Bob as an example because he doesn't stick to one musical genre. He's very much himself. He's very delightfully irreverent on stage. He
Love
he
it.
doesn't give a crap what anyone else likes or doesn't like. He's performing for him. And if you like his vibe and if you like what he says and does, then you're a fan. And if you aren't, then it's kind of like, well, okay, I'm not for you. And he, as far as I can tell, is doing quite well. And he's able to book these private shows. He'll play very large venues, a lot around Austin, but he tours and does a lot of other venues as well. But probably most of the people listening to this don't know who that is. And it's because I would argue that Bob probably has his 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 or 500 or 10,000 true fans, whatever it is. But relative to like the whole of music, it's a very small percentage, which means that most
Mm-hmm.
people aren't going to know him. And yet he's got this very successful music career. And it's because he didn't go down the like Spotify, Kindle Unlimited path and instead did his own artisan thing, which required being highly unique and in some cases a little polarizing. Like, because that's the other thing. If you just say, well, okay, I'm not going to play that game, I'm going to try and be an artisan, but I'm just going to be very bland and I'm not going to offend anyone. And I'm just going to write exactly what everyone expects me to write. And I'm going to write in one genre. I mean, if you want to do that, do you? But the whole thing of artisan authoring is you're looking for people who are outside of that norm. You're looking for people who appreciate that you are unique and weird. And I don't know. I feel like I went around the circle on the Bob thing. Did I
No,
answer
no,
it?
no,
No.
that's it. That's perfect. And I actually, on a much grander scale, even than Bob, I would say Prince did that.
Oh,
Prince was
totally.
very much like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, he did that and he took hold of like the indie way of doing things and basically said, I'm going to open my own production company. I'm going to do it my own way because that's the only way I'm going to hold on to my rights and my royalties, and I'm going to publish my way. And Bob's just doing it on a smaller scale. Prince just somehow hit it big one time when he went on American Grandstand, and somehow
And for the
got
young people who don't know Prince or Bob Schneider, Taylor Swift essentially did the same
Taylor
yeah,
thing.
Swift.
Taylor Swift.
I'm a
Yeah,
And
she took
Swiftie.
everything down and then
well, yeah.
and she
Well, there's a
started her
dignity
own
to it.
thing.
There's like
Yeah.
there's kind of this like hiking up your
Bootstraps.
pants and going like, I'm the creator here. Why
Mm-hmm.
am I
Yeah.
getting nothing? Why am
Yeah.
I just going along with the system? I'm the one who's creating. I know that we're straying into like the whole screwing artist thing, which isn't necessarily exactly the same thing.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah, I mean it's similar, and I do like Taylor Swift is a good example, obviously for young
Hmm.
people, but like she wasn't able to buck that system completely until she found some success. Obviously, she has a few more than 1,000 true fans,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
just a few. But I mean, she once she was
She's struggling.
successful enough,
It's
she could
fine.
basically say, okay, I'm not, you're not going to own my stuff anymore. I'm going to have it and release it my way, you know. But yeah, doing that from the start, because this is one of the things that, like, for a veteran author who already has an audience, sometimes it might seem simpler. But I like when we talked about this, what you said about that, Johnny, is it may not be simpler. because those might not be your true fans. Those are the fans that are expecting you to write to market or expecting you to write this
Hmm.
particular brand of story or whatever. And that's the way they came to you, and that's what they want. But those true fans are different. That's a
Hmm.
different breed. So, for a new author, maybe it is easier to start that way and basically say, I want to write whatever I want. I hope you like my stuff, you
I
know.
think you have to go into it informed, and thank you for bringing that back around because I heard it when we were talking about
Mhm.
Taylor Swift, and I'm like thinking, yeah, she had to have clout. Like she could not have pulled
Mhm.
that off if she wasn't Taylor friggin' Swift, right? So I was already thinking like I'm gonna have to bridge that gap. They're gonna think I'm not Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. Get one person is Taylor Swift. It's Taylor Swift. These are cheat notes for you.
Hmm.
But you had said, even when we were talking beforehand, like how would this work for a new author? And again, I think that going into something informed is the most important thing. Like, don't take
Yep.
anyone's advice blindly, including mine.
Yeah,
Um,
or ours.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
don't do that. I am so not saying that the artisan author is the best for any one individual person. I'm saying it may be. So do your research, think about it, and decide for yourself. If this sounds
Decide what's
appealing,
right for you.
maybe you read the book and see if it seems appealing to you. But
Hmm.
if you're so when I think of the new author, let's say that most people aren't equipped right off the bat. Like I'm starting writing today. I've been dreaming it all my life. I finished a book and now I'm going to write one a month. That's pretty damn atypical. Like most
That's,
people are not
Yeah.
yeah,
going to do that.
right.
So that means that you're entering into it with one book. And even if you heed some of the advice that we even gave in Write, Publish, Repeat, although it's gone through the telephone game and I think been pretty distorted, but that
Hmm.
core advice of it, I still think it makes sense to
Hmm.
write 3 books before releasing your first.
Yeah.
I,
Yes.
but
I
the
think that
difference is
makes
you
sense
don't
too.
have to publish them every month and then keep doing it forever. It's because that way you'll have a trilogy to promote and yeah, in series is better just because it's a little bit more attractive to people. It's easier to get traction. But even if you didn't want to do that, like if you just have one book and you just say, okay, well, everybody's saying push into Kindle Unlimited and don't worry about any other way of doing it. Don't do ebooks, don't do special
Mm.
editions, don't try Kickstarter, which is probably still sound advice for somebody who's brand new. But instead just push it into Kindle Unlimited, that book is going to disappear. It is going to sink like a stone because there's
Hmm.
nothing for the Amazon for the algorithm to gain its momentum and say, okay, there's book 2, which is like book 1. I'll serve it to those people, and that's how you grow in the algorithms. So I'm not saying that anyone's going to be successful with that 1 or even 3 book scenario as an artisan author. I will say that I give you at least as good of chances of being successful
Hmm.
as an artisan author and maybe better chances because I do a lot of live selling. This book is not about live selling. I'm just using it as an example of the sort of thing that we're talking about. If I have one book and I throw it into Kindle Unlimited, it's going to disappear. If I take
Hmm.
that same book and I make a really nice paperback and it's well edited and put together and it looks pro, and I take it to a small market, I'm going to sell a few copies of that book. And you can build a fandom that way too. I've started
Hmm.
collecting the email addresses of people that I meet that way.
Yep.
And my list of people that I have seen in person and been one to one with and had a good conversation with is now, I don't know, it's not a lot. It's like 200 people, but that's 200 people that I've met and I've shaken their hands
Yeah.
and they've gotten a physical copy of my book, which I've sold for a higher price than most people will tell you to even price your physical books at. And I would say that's a better chance than just throwing it into Kindle Unlimited.
I agree.
Absolutely. I've
So is
got one
that,
book. Oh, well, go ahead.
oh, no, I was gonna, well, go ahead, Troy, say that.
I was just going to say, I've got one book that's that way. Like it sells at in-person events, but it doesn't fit anywhere on Amazon. The Call of Karen, the Karen and Cthulhu
Oh,
series.
yeah, I
You
love.
know, Karen meets Cthulhu and they fall in love over their hatred of humanity and they go talk to managers on an adventure and find treasure and stuff like that. And like, you can't set, like, what category is that on Amazon? Well,
Mm-hmm.
Absurd.
Lovecraftian action, adventure, romance. Like, what is that? Like, how many people are in that category? But at an in-person event, I can say, "Do you like funny stuff? Read the first chapter, the first page of that prologue. If you like that, you'll like the rest of the book." And I can sell that book all day long, every time. I have a
Mm-hmm.
traveling bookstore that takes those books around. I just got a payment from them the other day for some books they sold at some conference I wasn't even at. But the owner of the bookstore loves that book, so she sells it, right? But it's not a book that's going to sell in any category on Amazon. And so I like that you can build that fandom because I built a fandom of that book and even that series, but I'm not going to do it on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited because nobody's going to pick that to read. It's just
Mhm.
going to disappear into obscurity. There's not a place for it where there's readers already there. They're like, oh, I can't wait for another Karen adventure, or whatever.
Well,
It's just not there. That's not what's happening, you
and
know?
one thing that you guys are kind of hitting on and kind of dancing around is this idea of like, I mean, I could be completely off base here, but I kind of see it as your bookstore of you that you talk
Yeah.
about in your book, and
Mhm.
and also cultivating and nurturing relationships with your readers and actually writing for the reader, which is like,
Mhm.
developing that true fan, and then also having that bookstore of you, making you the bookstore, and that is you, your brand as the author. So tell us a little bit more about like that concept. What's the bookstore of you that you talk about? Because I know I kind of like I got it, but I read it. So kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
without.
put super simply, it's okay, the construct is like imagine that there's a bookstore that's only filled with your books, and the shoppers in that store are obviously going to buy your books. But
Mhm,
more simply, it's what if you developed a group of readers who, when they wanted a new read, went looking for you first, and
mhm.
then if they can't find something, you don't have anything new, or they've read everything, then okay, maybe they'll go somewhere else, but they go to you first. And this is another case where, like, I would say, just think about. I mean, maybe people are different on this, but I think you can generally say, think about the way that you read. And
Mhm.
the way that I read is, I mean, I don't read a book a day or a book an hour or whatever it is. And so I'm very picky about my books.
Mhm.
And the
Me
idea of
too.
trying to find a new book is like so annoyingly daunting because I'm going to spend a lot of time with that book and I want to know that I'm going to like it. And so what do I do? Well, I don't go to Amazon and go through the first page. I know a lot of people do that,
I
but
don't.
I don't. What I do is I think first of who are the authors that I already know I like. And if
Mhm.
they have something new, I will get one of theirs. And if I don't have anything, I will ask friends. And if you can do that, I mean, there's a story I've told a bunch of times recently where somebody who bought a book from me at just this little artisan market told his friend, and his friend bought 10 books from me at once, physical paperbacks, and read them all in 18 days.
Oh my
So,
Oh,
gosh.
like, those people are out and at full price, right? So it's not like they weren't super cheap. They were like the average price of the book that he bought was probably $22. So that was a big sale. And his buddy that referred him bought nine. So that was like a $400 sale that I made based on like because he knew that he trusted me. He had read that book and then he told his friend. And so those are the ways that I think a lot of people find books. You go back to an author that you already trust and or you take the recommendations of your friends. And that's so basic. Like you don't
mhm.
need a complex way to do that. That's just, in my mind, common sense as to how people find books. A lot of people find books.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is a question then, I guess, for both of you. I mean, I kind of have an idea of what I tell my clients, but I want to know if I'm like on par or not here. But like as far as cultivating and creating and maybe even just reaching out to find those people that might be interested in you. I mean, it's one thing when you get them in your clutches and then you can kind of like wrap them up in your web and
Yeah.
like say, oh yeah, we're going to be besties now. But like how do you even attract those people? I know that you just recently went to a conference, a Comic-Con. There's those ways, those in-person ways, but what are some other ways? I mean, because that's again, it's like Bob, reaching out in this little, he's just
Yeah.
in his little world, right? But is it even feasible for authors to get those thousand true fans the way you guys are talking about?
Totally. I compare this to like sifting for gold in the bottom of a stream, but like the ratio of silt to gold is high. Like there's a lot of silt.
Mm-hmm.
But it means that the raw material is silt. You got to have river bottom to go through. So you need to get a lot of stuff in. Now, in an in-person event, it self-sorts. Like the people who are into
Mm-hmm.
books turn and look to you and they go, "Oh my God, books," and they're excited right away. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I will
Mhm.
close 50% of those people or something like that. So that's easy. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
not easy, but it's simple. But you can do it with something like a BookBub ad or Facebook ads or the ways that people normally reach out to readers. The difference is in the way that you reach out to them. So if you're advertising, if you're doing Amazon ads for your Kindle Unlimited book, I would argue that's probably not a high percentage way to get the kind of people that we're talking about, these artisan readers who are kind of like the people who go to buy craft jewelry and buy their eggs at a farmer's market or and buy vinyl. Like those are the kinds of people. Just because you're advertising into a system that is just, it isn't going to have those kind of readers necessarily, or at least not in abundance. But if you are doing I mean, even a BookBub ad for 99 cents will generate some people who just go to BookBub because it's cheap and they don't require it to be cheap. But hell, if a book's cheap, I will read it. So they may be that artisan reader, or you may be able to kind of talk to them over time. And once you get them on your mailing list, so the same strategies apply. You just have to keep sifting and sorting. You just have to have a big funnel to throw them into. And then through your email list or your social media, or however you talk to those people who come in, that raw silt, you just need to start talking to them in true fan sorts of ways, which basically boils down to being unflinchingly yourself. And they will self sort. And the ones who aren't interested won't join the list, or they'll leave the list. And you just have to keep refining and kind of making a stand for, this is who we are here. These are the kind of books that I make. This is the community that I've created. And you'll find a few. And it's a small percentage. But that's what I actually really like about this, is it allows that one-on-one connection. It allows me to, somebody sends me an email, I get all giddy because you broke away from the pack. You broke away from the silt.
Yeah.
Like you're a flake of gold that just, raised its hand. And I
Showed
have an
up. Yeah.
opportunity now to be super cool to you and make you happy and treat you like a real person rather than just some annoyance like, oh, somebody sent me an email. Let me say thanks very much for reading and I'm done. Those are
Yeah.
opportunities to find those true fans.
And just like Johnny said, I mean, this is a huge industry, and people don't realize the numbers. I mean, but it's a $3.2 billion industry. There's a lot of numbers out there to be had, and so, like you said, Johnny and Troy, you both said, yeah, there's room for the author to find those 1,000 true fans.
Mhm.
It's a doable thing.
A
So
thousand is
yeah,
not a huge number compared
it's
to what people are
not.
No.
trying to get.
No. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I know that Troy and I have talked about that before. We've talked about getting those true fans. What does a true fan actually look like to you guys? What would you say a true fan is? I mean, you mentioned the guy that like sticks out from the pack and like reaches out to you, but who is that true fan for you, Troy? Have you got a
Um,
couple of those following you?
yeah, I mean, I have one guy that like he's not on my review team, but he reviews every one of my books, and when he reviews it, he sends me the review, usually with a note. And like I've offered him, do you want to be on my review team? No, no, I don't want to do that. So he goes and buys every book and then reads it and reviews it, and
That's
then
cool.
sends me notes and sends me a review and says, oh, where else can I leave the review? And, all kinds of stuff like that. And I've got a few other ones. I've got one that buys all my books in print from a local bookstore. She's actually kind of scary. I haven't met her yet. And because I might be a little frightened of how voracious she
Misery,
is with
anyone?
stuff.
Misery,
Yeah, I might
anyone?
end up,
Oh.
I don't, anyway, I don't think she's actually that type of person. But anyway, but you know what I mean? Like and I've had a few people like that are like, they'll seek me out, they'll find me. I'll be at a local bookstore and they'll come like just to see me, not just wandering off the street. And those are wonderful to find. And I really like what Johnny's saying about how you don't need that huge of numbers of those. A
Mhm.
thousand true fans is not really that compared to if you throw it into the Kindle Unlimited mix, think of the number of page reads you need to have to reach that $120 physical book
Yeah.
sale.
And it's
I mean,
stable.
that's a
It's
lot.
stable.
Yeah.
You can take
Yes.
a break. They'll follow you to your next weird series. They love
Yeah.
you. The people who tend to be algorithmically driven, and this is a sweeping generalization, but it tends to be true. And it's that you're kind of just you're one in a million of them. It just doesn't, or I'm sorry, you're a million in a million of them. It just doesn't
Mhm.
really matter that much. A lot of people, Damon, you mentioned Damon when I did the book funnel interview, he was talking about his son who like has been reading this series and he's like 8 books into it or something. And so Damon was like, what's who's the author? And he's like, oh, I don't know. He didn't
Hmm.
know, and he's read like 8 books in this series. Whereas your true fans are forming the bond with you. There is one other thing I wanted to kind of mention because you brought this up. 1,000 is not an unbelievable number. Like Usually
No,
what I
it's
say is
not.
my high school had 1,000 people in it ish. And so I can
Hmm.
picture what the gym looked like during assemblies. Like that's different
Hmm.
from the nebulous, like a lot that a lot of people are shooting for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even need to be 1,000. We're kind of conditioned
Mhm.
to feel that it's full time or nothing, or ideally it's 6 or 7 figures, or you're just not trying hard enough. Like that's kind of subconsciously the vibe that's out there. And a lot of people don't necessarily even want to be full time. They're like, I like my job, or I don't like the instability of being a writer or the uncertainty. So, what if you had 200 true fans? And instead of making $100,000 a year, you made $20,000 a year. That's a hell of a cool income from something that you're just, you're writing books that you love. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be cool? And 200 people is just not that much, or 100. The nobility of that side hustle, I think, has been lost. And I feel bad for all the authors that that's all they want.
I
Yeah.
love that you brought up that side gig thing because you did bring that up in your book too. You talked about the side gig and like it's not unknoble
Yeah.
or it doesn't
Oh,
take away from your value to have a side gig. No
well, yeah.
way.
Mhm.
Oh, Troy, did we lose you?
He froze.
You
He's looking
froze
really
up.
thoughtful, though.
Oh, there.
Uh,
Repeat. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. So I froze for a second or something. But
Yeah.
anyway, you
You were
talked
like
about
this.
Kickstarter, but when I was talking to people about Kickstarter, Vincent Zandri and I just did our first Kickstarter with that True Pulp anthology. And we overfunded and really got way more than we needed with 68 backers.
Mm-hmm.
That's under 100. That's
Right.
plenty. And a lot of people told us, if you on your first one, if you fund quickly and you get more than 40 backers, that's considered a success. I was like, okay, that's interesting. He said, the one guy said, pay attention to the number of backers, not the money,
Mm.
right? Just the number of backers you have. I'm like, 68 backers. I'm like, 68 backers. If you sold anything else with 68 sales, you'd be like, that wasn't super great. But on Kickstarter, you go, man, that was excellent. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's so we have 68 true fans of that now, of that particular thing that we're creating. We're going to create more of them. Well, then we'll get more of those super fans. But how many do we need? Well, to successfully fund a Kickstarter, we funded within 20, probably 20 backers,
Yeah.
you know. So it's interesting, the dichotomy that kind of side hustle produces. Like, you can make a couple grand, fund your
Mm-hmm.
book, fund your side hustle, and you really don't need that many people to help you do that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I okay, so you talk about Kickstarter and you talked about stability, and one of the things I know that's one of my authors biggest, like, they have two problems that they always bring to me. One is marketing and two is stability, right? They're always looking for that. I want to be a full-time author.
Right.
I want to be the breadwinner. Is the artisan's way kind of can that be stable enough? Can you be an artisan author and still be stable enough and be the breadwinner in your family? Can you still do that?
Yeah, I mean,
Is
it's
that
not.
doable?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to promise anything is easy or there's no easy button to any of this, and I think that's important as a
Mm-hmm.
caveat, because people, I know how people are. I know human nature, and it's gonna be like, oh, he said it's a full-time thing. I got it. No, it takes a lot of persistence, but yeah, 100%. Because when Kickstarter is a great example, and I'm so not advocating that everybody should do Kickstarter. Like, it's just one of many, many options. But Kickstarter does tend to have some repeatability to it. If you're launching under the same account, your second Kickstarter is probably going to be it's not going to be significantly less than your first, unless it's just a total, like, you put out something stupid or your
Mm-hmm.
prices are really high or something dumb. So that's a way that you can have an escalating, chance of success. Same with just any true fans that you get anywhere else. Like, I'm going to continue to do better and better with live sales because the people keep coming back, and I get those people that they're like, oh, hey, I read that first book. Sometimes the next day of a 2-day event will be like, I read the first book, give me more. So I'm so reluctant when I hear like breadwinner and full time, and I've just been
It makes
burned
me
by that.
nervous.
Yeah, it makes me nervous because when we were on the self-publishing podcast, we accidentally gave a lot of advice. Like, we didn't mean to give advice. Some of it meant to be advice, but some of it was just us talking about us, and people took it as like
People took it as
formulaic.
advice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, it's very much human nature, but that's why I kind of hedge now. But I will say that I mean, I know people. I can think of 10 off the top of my head names that you guys would know who I consider to be artisan authors and who just kill it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not because they're doing the same thing as anyone else. It's because they found a way that works for them, and they stick to it like a stubborn artist. And they're like, this is how my people respond. This is what they like. They like audio, or they like this, or they like when I talk about this way, or whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, why would they leave you? I think of these people kind of like friends. Like, what does it take to get a friend
Mm-hmm.
to leave you? Like, it usually takes a lot. So
Yeah.
they're much more forgiving, certainly, than average people. And plus, you're selling books, because so it means that, like, what, every month or at the most, you're asking them for $5 if they want the ebook. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
hard to, once you get established, it would be hard to just totally bomb something unless it was something really weird, and or you did something dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of talk about the way to do that is like you said, I'm very careful about like one of the things I take great pride in is the fact that it's not a one size fits all. This shirt is going to fit you.
Yeah.
This is the advice for you. And unless they come to me and they explain to me what their goals are, and then I can kind of like tailor a plan that we can
Hmm.
kind of, but it is trial and error, right? Because every person is different and everything's going to work differently. And it's like you said, it's hunting a
Hmm.
unicorn. You're just kind of out there and I'm going to try this and see if this works. Cause that's basically what this is. Right. But ultimately it's like you said, and I love that you use the Kobayashi Maru. Like I love that you did that, but
Yeah.
it's very much like this isn't working, I got to change the rules. um I love that because that's kind of like the idea of the entrepreneur, the entrepreneur, the pivot that we have to often make whenever we're trying something and we're seeing, okay, this isn't working, so we need to change the rules and make it different, make it work for us.
Hmm.
And that's why
Yeah.
I'm very, very reluctant to tell people to go down those Google rabbit holes because they can get you in trouble because it's not going to work for everybody and everything is so different. The algorithm changes from day to day to day to day. Like just, I mean, and
One
it's
more
really
reason you shouldn't rely on it, in my opinion.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I have clients that'll call me in a panic and say, Stacey, my book is missing from, Amazon. I can't find it anywhere. And then I'll go on there and it's there. And I'm like, well, it's right there. I can find it. Well, why can't I find it? Well, it's because your algorithm is based on your shopping habits.
Right.
And when you went onto Amazon and you went looking for your book, it didn't pop up because of your algorithm. Your algorithm's different than my algorithm. It's just, and they're like, they can't wrap their brain around it. And it's like you said, Johnny, it's like hunting a unicorn. It's like, how do you go looking for that? Like you can't write to that if it's not dependable, if it's not reliable, if it's not duplicatable, it's not scientific. So
Well, who was it?
therefore,
Was it like, I feel like it was somebody like Kenny Rogers, or somebody who, that's the lyric is, you can't please everybody, so might as well please yourself. I know I'm
just please your
butchering that a little bit, but
Yeah.
like that
that
basically
can get a
means
lot
like,
of negative connotations from
yeah,
us.
right.
Like
But if
your
you're
12-year-old
not,
brain is working high gear.
if you're not going to be successful trying to chase the algorithms, then
Why are you doing
why
it?
chase them? Right. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
again, like, it works for some people. Some people are right for it, but we
Right.
need to engage that critical brain, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
and think for ourselves rather than just saying, well, I'm going to do what this person says, full stop, without thinking about it. And that includes me, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I
For
agree.
sure.
So full circle. I want to know, how do we bring the fun back into writing? What is your like top advice for bringing the fun back into the publishing world? What do you see this revolution looking like?
Well, everybody's got to make their own decision, but I would love it if more people started having fun. And I can only control myself, and every
Mm-hmm.
one of us can only control ourselves. And to me, it's kind of an artistic decision of like, which path are you going to choose? And like I said earlier, if the current path isn't working for you, then what do you have to lose? Why
Mm-hmm.
not give it a shot? Why not try to have fun? For me personally, I'm trying to I do have a little bit of a platform, and
Mm-hmm.
so like I want to talk more about this. Like, it's relatively new, this idea of like, oh, we used to have so much fun. Let's have fun again. I know that in the little college class type thing I'm doing with the Kickstarter, like I want to make that super fun. Like, I had that
Mm-hmm.
realization recently, like it's not enough to just talk about the material. Like, I want that to be a fun group. So I don't know. Everybody's got to make their own path, but it does feel important to me. I think you should have fun in life. Call me crazy.
Oh, you are crazy. You are crazy, Johnny. Troy, what does it look like for you? What do you think we could do to be making this more fun? What does fun look like for you?
Well, I think a lot of it is just writing the things that you enjoy and that are fun, and stop chasing the algorithm and stop chasing the market. If you're not enjoying it, then I mean, no tears in the air in the author, no tears in the reader, but no enjoyment in the author, no enjoyment in the reader. I think you get to the point where you're producing books that are a business, and you're producing a product, but it's like producing peanut butter cups over and over again. Eventually you're just sick of peanut butter cups. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much you like them in the first place. By the end of the time, they're terrible. So I think that's a part of it, is just giving yourself that freedom to be who you are and to write the things that you love to write. And market trends will come around, they'll come and go. Things will come full circle. But if you're having fun and your readers, those close readers that you have, are having fun, then the money is going to be a secondary thing that's going to come anyway. People are going to
Or if it
sense that
doesn't
fun.
come, at
They'll
least you're
sense that
having
you're,
fun.
at least you're having fun, at least you're happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks
So
to not have the money come and you're not having fun at least.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the
you're
way
right.
I
I,
see it.
I think
If you're
fun
not
for
having
me,
fun and the money isn't coming,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
why? Why bother?
it is changed. Yeah. Why are you doing this? It's kind of like what we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about AI, if you're just having AI pump out of the books, why? Why are you even doing this job? Like,
Yeah.
why are you not writing
Yeah.
it? Where's your heart and your mind? And if you have something to say it, man. But I
Yeah.
think having fun for me is just meeting the amazing humans behind these funny, wild, wacky perspectives and stories, and hearing what people have to say, and like creating and cultivating those relationships. I know marketing is kind of like the big M word in this business. I mean, people hate that word, but really when you're marketing your books, you're doing exactly what Johnny is telling you to do, and that is to create that that ecosystem of fans that you can connect to and relate to and have fun with. And if you're not, if I mean, I don't know too many people that can have fun by themselves. Usually we have fun when we're with friends, or we're hanging out with people that are like-minded, or we
Yeah.
have common ground, and or we can laugh at each other in some way or another. But I mean, that's the fun I think that we're missing from this industry right now, is the just that connectiveness and that human interaction, and that comes through the words that our authors create. And I feel like that is something that, as long as you're doing that for you, and you have something to say and you say it, and you're doing it in a professional way that is going to reach readers so that they're not completely put off by what you're doing, but at the same time they're going to get to become your fan, and they buy your books because you're freaking Johnny Truant, and they buy your books because you're Troy Lambert, like, dude, have you met this guy? He's like, he wears crazy sweaters, like, I mean, just, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, it's one of those things where I feel like that's where the fun is. It's in those relationships. So I think you guys are on the right track here. Johnny, I'm like, tell people about your book. What's happening with that? Tell them where they can get it.
Yeah,
Let's plug
absolutely.
away.
Absolutely. So it's running, the Kickstarter is running right now as this podcast is released. It will run through August 14th of 2025. I assume that you're not a year behind and expecting the Kickstarter to be
Nope.
going. It's at johnnybtruant.com/artisan. And it's, you can just get the ebook or the paperback or the audiobook, but then I'm also doing this thing that I'm calling Artisan University, which is super weird. And I think actually it's not weird. It's actually very simple,
It's just
but
fun.
it feels weird, right? So, and it's like, what if I've always wanted to teach a college course? So I said, well, what if I did that, like for, you know, relatively inexpensive as far as internet education goes, and we use the book as a textbook. So I'm gonna do
Oh,
like a
fun.
10-week course, like twice a week. We'll meet like a college class, like everything except for the leather patches on my tweed sport coat. Or is it the other way around? No, it's that way. Um, so yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just, it's all at johnnybtruant.com/artisan. But if you only want the book and you're like, forget about Kickstarter, it's on all the platforms for pre-order. You can just search for it.
Very awesome. Well,
Yeah.
good on you. Like, I'll put that link in the description as well, so people can click on it.
Awesome.
And then any other socials or anything, I'll tag all that stuff in there for you guys, so you can follow Johnny and become one of his true fans. And again, you can follow Troy at The Plot Abides and myself at printpro.com. Yeah, I really appreciate you being with us, Johnny. I hope that this
Super
book just
fun.
takes you off and we see another 15, 20, 50 years of like you being just wild and fun. I think that would be awesome.
I'm too stubborn to do otherwise. So I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I am looking for one final thing. Now that you got that confused, I want to see you in a leather sport coat with tweed
with
patches.
a tweed.
That happened in like
elbows.
Friends or something. I remember there being maybe it was in The Simpsons. It was in The Simpsons. Homer did it.
Oh,
Well,
Simpsons, you're right.
Yeah.
Then it's
Simpsons,
prophetic.
Friends, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, then it's prophetic and it needs to be done. So
Totally.
so let it be written. So let it be done.
Totally.
I really appreciate you guys for being with us, and we hope to see you guys again with us next week. Well, take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.